Welcome to another exciting edition of the Manifesto Show. Of course, this is the platform that gives presidential candidates an opportunity to give, or rather to give solutions to Zambian people, especially as we go prior to the election. My name is Ndanji Duncan Simwanza. Great to have you on the program, Mr. President. Of course, I am joined by President of Party of National Unity and Progress, Mr. Hamududu. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ndanji, and thank you for inviting me to your TV.
I'm sure the people are curious about, of course, the dire need of solutions, especially as we head towards the election. They want to know the reason why the vote should be on you during the voting day. But before we dive into the flesh, I know there are other viewers who might not know you, who would want to know you. Who is Mr. Highvie?
This gentleman was born in Mwanza West, went to school in Mwanza West, primary, both the lower and upper primary in Mwanza West, and I went to Mwanza East at St. Canisius to do my secondary school. You know St. Canisius Secondary School, which was a top layer school in this country in terms of performance. I went to Canisius Secondary School and then came to University of Zambia, and I studied economics and demography. When I finished, I worked for cabinet office as a manpower information officer. I was picked from university. I never applied for that job. They were looking for students who had good results in statistics. So my colleague and I were picked to work at cabinet office as manpower information officers. My colleague did not even come over. He went to Bank of Zambia. I stayed at the cabinet office for a few months, but I had a job offer again in the piping. So I went to work for Zambia Cooperative Federation Finance Services as a district operations officer. As a young man like you, 23 years old, I ran Livingstone and then Choma. I left 95 on principle. There was an issue around agricultural financing. I never agreed because it was disadvantaging farmers. So I resigned and joined the Commerce Bank. Commerce Bank did not last long. That time most banks were collapsing. And Commerce Bank collapsed in our faces. And I left to work in Namibia, and I taught economics and statistics for 9 years at an Institute of Higher Education, which is now the only and biggest private university in Namibia, the International University of Management. And then I came to run for parliament in 2006 for Wengwa. And I was in parliament for 10 years, from 06 to 2016. And later on, I was invited by colleagues to lead a political party based on my service record, especially in parliament. And there I am now, president of the Party of National Unity and Progress.
I look at the long, rich history of servitude to the country. Now, I just want to understand the decision of you running for office. Did it come on a personal level? Where did the call to action come from?
Well, the decision to run for parliament, first of all, was never a personal ambition. In as far as people see attributes of being a leader, it comes from the people. To run for office is a decision of the Zambian people. And even to be a president of a political party, it must be a decision of the people within a grouping. Because this is service. It's not business where you can do whatever you want. Service is service. Public service is different. It's wired different. It's to put the common interests at the heart of what you are doing. And your personal interest becomes subservient. And so my colleagues who are like-minded and who heard me and they thought I can play a role in the bigger office identified me and gave me the privilege to be a party president. And we went to a convention again. They gave me even further legitimacy to be the presidential candidate. So here I am on the ballot among the 16. If the elections for a presidency and voting for a political party is based on the right set of policies, we stand tall. And so here we are.
Speaking about policies, I think it's very important to keep pace with the prevailing condition. Now, of course, there's been an outcry, of course, by many Zambians to say that things are not going so well economically. Of course, that's what the reason why the projection of this year's election will actually have an economic perspective to it. What reforms are you bringing forward in terms of stabilizing the economy?
First of all, I must start by saying that the fortunes of a country are enhanced by a set of right policies. Okay? Right policies, the right team to implement the policies, and the commensurate political will to implement. Three main ingredients you need in a political party. As regards to the question you are asking, first of all, we have a manifesto. And what is a manifesto? A manifesto is a set of proposals that you would want to implement to resolve the socio-economic problems that exist in a country. And for our manifesto, it is informed by evidence. You see, what you see happening here has a root cause. So in crafting our manifesto, through practice and experience and lessons learned elsewhere, we have put before you a manifesto that attacks the root cause of our problems as as regards the economy and generally our advancement as a country. You have talked about the economy specifically, which is a main issue in Zambia and generally in most developing countries. Zambia in particular now, as indicated by the macroeconomic parameters, the economy is not well. You know, the economy has indicators that shows it's healthy. The growth rate, the exchange rate, the inflation rate, the gross international reserves, the interest rates, all these are indicators that show the health of the economy. When you look at these macroeconomic indicators, our economy is not healthy. But what you see are symptoms of an underlying problem. When you see now the cost of living, you can't just say, I'll reduce the cost of living. Tell us how.
And that's something
Because you need to go to the root cause of the high cost of living. You need to go to the root cause of the slow economic growth. You need to go to the root cause of the lower foreign reserves. You need to go to the root cause of the high interest rates. And our manifesto attacks the root causes of the problem. When you deal with the root causes, even the symptoms begin to go away.
Speaking about the exchange rates, I think that's one key aspect that I'm going to pick from, because if you look at a dollar to a kwacha, for example, and in most cases when you go to markets and supermarkets now, they are defining the prices in this particular category. Now, speaking about solutions, because it's about providing those solutions. So where do the party, of course, Party of National Unity and Progress, are going to base their solutions on in regards to this issue?
Again, the root cause. What you see now, the exchange rate, which is around it, is 22 kwacha to a dollar, is a symptom of an underlying problem. What is it? The Zambian economy from the 1990s was liberalized, but unfortunately, in that liberalization program, we lost our industrial base. Zambia under Dr. Kaunda, right or wrong, there is something that is correct about it. We had begun to produce our own things. There are industries in every town, and there are jobs. Every province, there was a big industry adding value to what we had. And because of that, the imports were less. But when we lost the textiles, we go to Kafue there, Kafue textiles down, Mlungush textiles down. We used to assemble cars here in Livingston, the Fiat cars down. We used to assemble here bicycles down. We used to have one of the biggest groundnut sorting factory, one of the best in sub-region here in Eastern Province, down. We used to have Minilonga cannery that was adding value to pineapples and producing our own juice, organic juice, down. We used to have master batteries.
But this is a conversation.
Yes, I want to build up the story. You know, that was adding value to manganese and making batteries. Zambia was making batteries. Do you know the current industrial revolution is driven by batteries? That's what we lost. And then, so in that process of liberalizing the economy, when we changed the government, I think it was fast tracked to a point where mistakes were made and we lost our industrial capacity to produce. Then the economy became an import-dependent economy. Now, when you are an import-dependent economy, an exchange rate becomes an important factor because now you start importing more things. So the demand for dollar becomes higher than the supply. So what we have now is that we are not exporting enough. Okay, we are not getting enough dollar than what we are demanding. So that disequilibrium is the one that is causing
Now, Mr. President,
the exchange rate to go high.
This conversation has been there for quite a while, and many leaders have spoken about this conversation so we know the problem. Now the question is, of course, you might say the root cause, of course, but the question is, how now do we begin changing the narratives?
Very good. Then, yes, many have talked about this, but not to this depth. When you go to a doctor, first they look at your historical health to prescribe a treatment. You can't just come, book, I will solve. No. Understand where it came from. It is in the history of a problem that you find a solution. So the exchange rate that we have that is now affecting us is because, number one, the policies we have are not promoting growth in the country. We need to produce more and export and earn the dollar. Now, talking about solutions, what can we do if we are in office? Number one, we'll be very clear about the type of economic policy. We believe, number one, in a free market economic policies. Why? Because that is a genius of growth. Proven. Go to Botswana. Go to all these countries. There's also an example that very interesting. At independence, those in the 60s, the first country to be independent in Africa was Ghana, as you know. Then you have another country, Ivory Coast. Ghana went the commandist economic policies. And the Ghana economy was bigger than Ivory Coast at that time.
On that note, we'll come back on that note. We'll come back on that note.
Let me finish just straight. Ivory Coast embraced free market economic policies. Within a few decades, Ivory Coast became bigger. It became a bigger economy, more developed than Ghana. I'm just going to emphasize the issue of right policies. So number one solution we are giving to you is that we are prescribing free market policies as a basis for economic growth and development. Why? It is correct in the practice, it's correct from the lessons learned. The efficacy is there for all to see. So I'm just giving one solution, because there must be a policy framework. You can't just be bringing policies hit and run. Today you have this policy, no, I think like this. An economy is not run like that. Number one, define the economic framework.
When we come back on the definition of the economic act, as you put it, we're going to come back to that aspect. We're going to take a first break. We'll be right back.
Agriculture. What hits your mind when you hear the word agriculture? Food. Welcome to the Agripreneur Show. The Agripreneur Show brings you nothing but the very best in the agriculture world. On this show, we begin to understand further what our farmers go through, what they deal with to bring us food every day in our lives. Catch me every Saturday at 16 hours as I bring you agriculture on your screen.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Manifesto Show, channel 112 on your top star decoders. And of course, I'm still having a conversation with the Party of National Unity and Progress President, Mr. Hamududu. And where we left off, of course, I want you to, as we begin building our conversation, I think we can finish up where we left off. Of course, the economic, we can call it the economic web, is entangled in a way. And as Party of National Unity and Progress, of course, you have submitted certain things. But moving forward, what are we expectant of you in this regard?
So, with the macroeconomic framework, or the economic policy defined, the free market economy, we can now go deeper to sector by sector. But the economy is an amalgamation of sectors. And therefore, in prescribing policies to reboot the economy and to make it grow sustainably, you need now to put sector policies and all the sectors that make the overall economic policy of a country.
And on that note,
we can start, for example.
Yeah, we can start on agriculture sector.
Agriculture.
And I feel like agriculture has been a talk of diversifying the country, of course, for so many years. I'm not going to mention the government, but so many people. But again, where is it all going wrong, and what is the party providing?
I want to tell you that if I come to that, you are looking at the real solution. There is a clarity. Just to develop a country, there is clarity. So let me come to agriculture and give you quickly the pillars that can transform agriculture, create the jobs, create the growth, fight poverty and the inequalities that beset our country. Because the country is facing basically 4 problems: unemployment, poverty, inequality, and issues of the environment. In agriculture, number 1, the main for us through research and evidence, the first step in transforming agriculture is formality of land ownership. That's completely a new point. The problem Zambia has is that we have a high degree of informality. You go in a village where you come from, Danji, or where I come from, people in the village, they own land which is not theirs. Why is it not theirs? They have no evidence to show. Now, and the main asset for agriculture is not a tractor, it's not livestock, it's not fertilizers, it's land.
But how easy would that be accessed?
No, they already have land. First, we start with people with land and give them legal ownership to land, meaning titling. This issue of people, Zambians have no land. I mean, that's the second question. Those who are already living on land in the different provinces, you and I come from rural areas. If you're not coming from rural areas, your parents come from the rural area. There is already land. What we need is to formalize the ownership of land. If you own a car, you have a right to use it. If you own a gun, you have a license. How come the most important asset beyond the car, beyond the gun, land, has no papers? That's why you see that we don't have serious agriculture in this country. So number 1, land formalization. Number 2, open the borders. Why? We need a bigger market than what we have. Because access to bigger markets is the genius of growth. Look at Japan, look at Singapore. Their growth is dependent on access to the market.
But we have 2 laws, we have 2 land laws in the country. We have, of course, the tradition aspect, and of course, the other aspect. Now, the question is that these other people acquire land, of course, via tradition. There are no paperwork around that.
No, but land was bequeathed. When we came, we were given land. You understand? We were like children of Israel. When they went to Canaan, they were given land. When the tribes came here, they came to the land, which was not owned by anybody. So God gave us land. First of all, we already have land, which we are given where we settled. Give that the power of legal ownership. Is there an example? Go to Rwanda. Rwanda has done land registry. Even the mountains are. But the moment you put a title on your land, the value goes up. And secondly, you begin to look after it. And thirdly, you begin to do sensible things. Fourthly, you stop cutting trees. Can you cut a tree on a land which is on a title?
And Mr. President,
This so-called deforestation
Mr. President,
is because land does not belong to anybody. So you just pick an axe and you cut trees everywhere.
The reason why I asked you that question is
Yes.
because we have 2 land laws in the country, because I'm looking at the conflicting parties here. Of course, the tradition leaders, of course, they have also the powers to give land without proper documentation. But the aspect where the government comes in and start now giving land with proper documentation, I'm looking at their aspect now as chief and the power that they have over land as well.
No.
How would the transition be?
Yes. Maybe tag that question. I wanted to finish the 4 pillars of agriculture. Then I'll come to that. So I now elaborate so that people can follow. Formality of land ownership, opening the borders for export. Why? We need farmers to get the highest prices. It is the profitability of agriculture that creates value and growth and makes people richer. You understand? And create more jobs. And basically production goes up. Open the borders If there's opportunities for markets in DRC, in Angola, and so on, let's create the infrastructure, open the borders from January to December consistently so that our farmers can get the best value. Okay? Number 3, financing. In this country, we don't have a dedicated agricultural financing institution. You need an agricultural bank here in this country again. We are the only country. These banks are not wired to provide agricultural financing to create agriculture as a real business. They are financing consumption because agricultural loans are specific. They require specific grace periods. You can't get a loan to grow maize and start paying next month. You need a grace period of 7 months. You go and plant, buy your fertilizers and so on, and then you harvest and start paying. So you need an agriculture. We need that such a bank. But you know what?
Speaking about that bank, and
Yes.
I'm looking at people from rural areas, because these are some of the things,
Yes.
of course, we run away from, but they are there. There is the access to finance has already been a problem in this country, especially in different sectors. Now, having a bank for agriculture, where we have people from a particular rural area coming to that particular bank to access, I'm looking at them at the point where they understand things in a different world. How easy will that finance be accessed?
Very easy, because we have already dealt with the enabler to financing. When land is titled, you have now collateral to borrow. When you had Lima Bank, Zese Finance, I worked there. Zese Finance is giving loans. Even people don't know how to read and write, they are borrowing, and they are doing very well. They own tractors. You understand it? So we just need those institutions. We are there already. When we are less educated, today with you guys, it's easier. So there's nothing like rural areas which are reachable. All rural areas are reachable, and once you begin to title land and give it value and become security.
Will those banks be taken in those areas?
No, you don't need to. You put it in a district, you go to town. You don't need to put it in a village. You don't need to do that. Halima Bank was never in the village, it was in the town. ZC Finances Service was never in the village, it was in town. CUSA was never in the village, it was in town. Maybe you are young. They were under Kaunda, and thanks to Dr. Kaunda, may he so rest in peace. He had put enablers for serious agricultural transformation. And you could see a farmer, this year he's using a bicycle, he gets a loan, he harvests, he pays back a loan, he's with a motorbike. In the third year, he's with a van and a tractor. There was growth. I am a son of a farmer myself, and I speak from evidence. I grow from that evidence. And we were educated through agriculture. We are fed through agriculture that had enablers. So I've said you 3, isn't it? I've said 3. Land ownership, exports, financing. Thirdly, we need again the new NAMBOD. All these, like financing, agriculture bank, it must be co-owned between government and private sector, so it does not collapse like before, where you begin to abuse it through political patronage. And then you need a new NAMBOD that links the production areas to the market, both at home and abroad. You need an institution, which is a highway that links the producers and the market. Now, these 4 become enablers for unparalleled agricultural transformation you have never seen. If we did these 4, and of course, coupled with the good extension service by government.
Without
these 5
unemployment by the majority, of course, the young people.
If you get more jobs, because when you graduate yourself, you'll go and start farming and create jobs for yourself and for others. Create work and wealth. Time has finished where you say, I'll create jobs. Create jobs where? Create opportunities for people to get engaged and create their own jobs, their own work and wealth, and also employ others.
Agriculture.
It is SMEs that are a game changer, both in agriculture. Agriculture now has even more opportunities because we have a lot of land.
Agriculture perception, very key. Agriculture has been perceived by many people as a tough field to go into. And I think that's the reason why we're taking long to a lot of people taking long to enter into the field. So the mind, how do you begin now as a part of changing the mind?
That's not true. That's not true. Because the biggest occupation of Zambians is agriculture, even the uneducated. My grandfather had over 1,000 animals. He didn't know how to read or write. Agriculture is a culture.
But that's on the small scale.
No, what is 1,000 cattle? 1,000 cattle. It's not a small thing. You don't know how to read and write. I come from a cattle place, both for my maternal and paternal grandparents. We grew up with basically silver spoons. underpinned by agriculture, by parents who are not educated, but very wealthy. And they educated us now to engage in modern wealth beyond agriculture. Agriculture is a starting point for any country. In fact, once you prosper, you leave agriculture to others, you go to better things, isn't it? To high value things. You go in technology, you go in ITC, you go in the real estates. So agriculture, one, over 60% of Zambians are already in agriculture across the country. And therefore, agriculture is the easiest.
But do you agree or disagree that the perception is still bad?
No, that is a wrong perception. I don't know where it came from. I come from an agricultural place. All the people that didn't get jobs now, they are doing agriculture. What is lacking are enablers that government must provide. Land titling, so that you can have a piece of land, you can do serious farming. Not today, you are farming here, tomorrow your uncle comes and says, no, move this side, your land is up to here, you plant your maize, no, you have gone beyond. No, we cannot. 56 years after independence, our land must have demarcations, and you can begin to invest. Then in your land, you can have a plantation for lemons, a plantation for oranges, a plantation for avocados, and then you have fields for maize, sunflower, and soybeans. Because now it's your land, there is a security of tenure. That's what's like, I can tell you. Just land formalization can transform this economy within a short time. One, the value that, the main asset we have as a country, immediately its value goes up. The moment you title your land, yourself, you become richer. The moment the paper comes out from your land, you become richer. Secondly, government begins to get money. And the value of the economy also, basically, is rebased upwards. This land, why is land expensive in Lusaka? It has papers. But just go here, drive 50 kilometers from here, 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers from Lusaka, you find land is cheaper. Why? It's traditional, so-called traditional. It has no papers. So we are denying our people wealth. The moment you give people papers, titles, their balance sheet jumps. Our people are sitting on wealth. Let us legitimize the wealth. Put value on it. Our people are not poor. They own land already called traditional. Just need to give them paper. You know, land that's called traditional. It's like you are driving a car without papers. Every time you're running away from the policeman. You want to make money, you are pirating, you find the policeman, you run away, and you spend all your money paying the policeman because your car has no value. That's how our land is. Put value there. It transforms the people who own it, the country, and it modernizes the economy, and production begins to go up. Because with that asset, other things begin to come in, like financing. I can tell you, just formalization of land can change the economic profile of this country.
All right, we're going to take our final commercial break. Of course, make sure you follow us on Facebook, that's Live TV, as well as Instagram at Live TV Africa. We'll be right back. What's up, my people, my country people? Guess what? It is the Next Jam season 2. We are coming bigger, better, funnier. We have a whole lot of creatives lined up for you. This particular season is proudly sponsored by Lusaka Institute of Applied Sciences every Saturday, and we are clocked at 14 hours. Do not miss it, because you'll be missing your own entertainment. It is your favorite TV host, Mr. Martin Lawrence Mutale. Hey, let's do this. You're still watching the Manifesto Show on Live TV channel 112, and we continue with our conversation. Of course, President Hamududu is with me here, and beside agriculture sector, there are other sectors that need to be addressed as well. And as a party, you have all tackled this. You have tackled all angles, and you have the solutions. Let's just talk about one aspect that a lot of people want to listen to, which is the unemployment by the young people. And I want to focus it on the aspect of what other things should young people do in order to get themselves into the workforce and have something to sustain their livelihood.
First, in Nigeria, unemployment is not a sector. Unemployment is the absence of growth. What I have said here, for example, in the agriculture sector, when you put the enablers and agriculture begins to grow, it produces employment. So employment is a byproduct of growth. So when you put policies that grow the economy, whether it's in agriculture, in mining, in tourism, in manufacturing, in services industry, you create the jobs. Where you are here is a product of enterprise through a free market platform, allowing you to open a private TV station and employing all of you. And as the business comes here, as the economy begins to grow and there are more interviews and there are more adverts, you begin to employ more people. So employment creation is the result of a growth agenda that is started by the right policies. Enterprise only works or entrepreneurship, when government gives the enabling environment for people to occupy. Because everybody is born with enterprise. What is enterprise? It's the brain. It's from the Bible. When a man sinned, God says, you shall now go and eat your food through sweating. So he said, go and enterprise. Those farmers in the village, sometimes we think people in town who own this are the only entrepreneurs. No. The real entrepreneurs are the people who are hustling, the hustlers. They are proper entrepreneurs, my friend, in the village, in these compounds, in Kalinga. Those are my heroes. Why? They have so much depravity. Some of these entrepreneurs, just entrepreneurs. You get a tender from government, then you have money, then the people think that you are an entrepreneur. That's a tender, maybe through connections. But you're talking about people who work, who till the land, who go to the market every morning, and they are able to feed their children by buying cabbage, and rape, and okra, and tomatoes in the market, and they come to Kalingalinga, and they are making money, and they are educating people. Some of us are children of those people.
And how are you as a party going to boost their businesses?
Yes, an enabling environment. When the economy grows, there is more money in people's pockets. And then there's more money for people to buy. There's disposable income for people to buy from those marketeers. When we begin to buy a mass because we have more money, the economy is growing and there are more jobs. Those entrepreneurs, the marketeers, the farmers begin to graduate and do better things. That is a more credible growth of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are all people, whichever station they are. In fact, the hustlers in the markets, the farmers are the real entrepreneurs. Why? All odds are against them. They have no access to financing, but they are surviving. You and I, we have connections, and you can get a loan through connections. You can get a tender, and that becomes your capital. Those ones are doing it the hard way. So what you need is a platform to make it easier for them to occupy. We need to say, I have a councillor here who is standing in Kalikiriki. We begin to give them titles so that their properties there. You need to give them those markets. They need to be given markets and the titles. That becomes their asset, a platform for enterprising. I've told you, the first thing we must do is to give people legal ownership to their means of production. Whether it's a house, here in Kalikiriki, in Kalingalinga, in Chazanga, everywhere, people must be given titles to their properties. That begins the journey for real growth. And also modernity. Because when you formalize ownership, you are modernizing the economy. They can now access better loans. They can access better markets. The growth of an economy does not it will not come from the big guys. It will come from the work of the million Zambians. It is the aggregation of the efforts of the 18 million Zambians which will be a game changer, a broad-based development agenda.
I had a conversation with Miriam. I think she wanted me to mention her. I think she's into clothing. She sells clothing, and I told her personally that I will be having Mr. Hamududu to have a conversation, and she wanted to find out to say that we have the zeal and the capacity to run businesses. The problem the problem always comes to access to finances. Now, of course, the Youth Empowerment Fund, right? It's there. They apply, and they do apply. But the question is, they do not get this money. So how will you make it easier for them to actually?
Well, that is porridge for us. The delivery of empowerment programs, the way the government is wrong. We believe in formality. What we need now are financing institutions, empowerment fund that is regularized. Why don't you put the money in CEC and make it professional and open offices in all constituencies and people can dump and apply there? You must give people with viable ideas. Whether you are selling tomato or you are selling rape or okra and so on, you are in the market, you are selling rice from Mongo or from Chama, as long as it's profitable, you get a loan. What's happened now? They are giving loans like manna. I mean, only God can give manna. You understand? It drops every day because He makes. We don't make. We have to sweat. So it's a delivery platform. So to my friend here, what's her name?
Yeah.
Miriam, what we need, my sister, is institutions where you who are doing a credible business, you work with them. Based on the merit of your proposal, you get a loan. With very concessional interest rates, not my 30% here. That is Kaloba. All these banks are giving Kaloba. You cannot develop 30% interest. What you need is a little interest and you pay back, isn't it? And it's a good grace period. Then your business can grow. So the empowerment funds must go in a formal institution. We believe in formalization of the economy and the empowerment processes so that you get the loans on merit and you can access it. We have now put so-called parliamentary offices. I mean, for me, I will change that. I will put in those offices, let MPs go and occupy offices in a council there. Those offices must be a multi-purpose center in every constituency where you can access financing, isn't it? People can apply there. Whether you have an agri-bank, there will be an officer in agri-bank, office for empowerment there, and you apply, and they go and process at the BOMA, at the district, and those with viable ideas, the money flows through. Then you don't need to be a party cadre. All you need is a viable plan, and you get the money.
Speaking about access to finances, the issue of corruption, I think I'm going to finalize myself on this aspect. Corruption, how does your government going to handle this issue of corruption?
My friend, there is a law against corruption. The problem why is corruption is thriving is that our economy is informal. Informality itself breeds corruption. Because informality is darkness. In the dark, there are more bad things happening than where there is light. So you formalize the processes. The moment you formalize application for empowerment, corruption goes away because now it's in a clear path. So corruption is fought, number one, the good laws and the good institutions that are formal. Not me, I'll fight corruption. Are you God? What if you are corrupt yourself? For us, we need institutions and the laws that outlaw corruption and that expose corruption. Because all of us must be subject to that light. If you are present, you are corrupt, it will catch you and wherever you are. So you cannot say that I'll fight corruption. Then you are claiming to be above the law. What if corruption is yourself? How do you fight it against yourself? What you need are institutions and their good laws that are formalized. And therefore there is clarity and there is transparency. That's how the West has fought corruption. It's through systems enabled by law and formality. With clarity. So you know, when you get a loan, people must know that we can go and check how you got it. Because there's a formal application process. Let me tell you, this economy is still a baby. And it can easily respond to a cocktail of the right policy nutrition. You know, a child easily gets fatter because the cells are growing. This is how this economy is. This economy is nothing. It's still small. This economy, my friend, if you inject the right policies which are researched, this economy can respond within a few years. I can tell you in this country, if you apply these policies as exposed in our manifesto, with the right team and the right political will, the neighboring countries here, they can come to start working here. The Botswana will start coming to work here. I can tell you, I've worked in those countries. The Namibia will start working here because our economy can work from all sectors. Agriculture, our potential is unmatched. Tourism, over 21 national parks, unmatched. Mining, we have more minerals here, whether gemstone or heavy metal, unmatched. You understand, eh? Except DRC, which itself is, in turmoil. So we have all the advantage, and we have the peace. We have the water. We control 40% of fresh water in SADC for industrial use, for consumption, and for agriculture, and all these things. This country is sitting pretty. It just requires a set of the right policies and servant leaders.
Mr. Hamududu, we can go on and on to talk about many issues, but I feel like I'm going to just give you an opportunity to just share to the Zambian people. As we head towards the general election, of course, there could be a message or two that we did not digest on the program. What message would you want to leave with the viewers?
They say that if you continue doing the same thing all the time and expect different results, then there is something wrong. We are bringing the difference. We are breaking the cycle of politics. We don't talk about people, we talk about policies. You might just be watching the real solution. You Zambians, you might just be watching the real solution, building on the patriotism of Dr. Kaunda, putting people first, through the right policies, through a broad-based economic agenda that brings everyone to become a participant in the growth story of our economy, fighting unemployment, the poverty, inequalities, and stopping the environmental degradation. You can't get it any better than what you are looking at.
President Hamududu, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you.
It's been lovely having a conversation with you. Thank you so much for watching the manifesto. Until next time, bye-bye and God bless.